Cookie!
Hi, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of the Faux Sung Elizabeth Cookie Show, Season 5, Episode 6. I decided to make this episode a very special episode because one of my favorite games that I waited for over 15 years has been released for Xbox One, and that is Killer Instinct 3, but right now under the tentative title of just Killer Instinct. Now, as for those of you who have been watching my videos, I released a Killer Instinct video back in 2009 talking about that Rare needed to find a way to conflict the license issues agreement between them and Nintendo, or Rare and Microsoft. However that legal battle was ensuing between those companies, they needed to come to a resolve. So now that that has happened, you know, the long-awaited dream 15 years later for a sequel has been realized. And so during that video, I was talking touchly about the story and stuff. And then not too long ago, after E3 this year, I made a video based upon my excitement. For those who saw it, I was yelling and screaming and making gestures towards the announcement, while also showing a little bit of footage when Microsoft released the Xbox One. During their presentation, they showed KI3, and of course showcasing Saberwolf, Jago, and then some glimpses of Glacius. So there are a lot of videos out right now about Killer Instinct 3, about the new gameplay and such, and I just want to give a shout out to Maximilian, who was actually there on site at E3. I wanted to be there to do the same thing, to talk about the story, to talk about the gameplay, and how well did they actually take from the past and put it right here now in the present 15 years later. So this video is not really going to focus on gameplay. It's really going to focus on the story, because oftentimes in competitive fighting video games, what we want to know about is the gameplay and the graphics, and how well can it hold and stand the test of time in the competitive fighting game community scene. And I think that is just all well and good. All well and good. I got nothing against that. But at times, we put the story and the music and all that other stuff on the back burner. And that becomes second and third to what we are really focusing on. Various, when we look at that in terms of Japan, Japan puts story and music first, and then gameplay and graphics. So if you're looking for gameplay video about KI 1, 2, and 3 and such at this moment, you're going to have to look for another YouTube video. Sorry, there's plenty of that out right now, and I have to say Maximilian did an incredible job getting all of the facts for all the gameplay and footage and graphics and what's going to happen regarding KI3 that's coming out sometime in November for a digital download exclusively for the Xbox One. On that note, I just wanted to give another shout out. I have my note cards here. I want to give a shout out to Shade on the SRK network, and also Mr. Unblockable. I want to say it was just a couple weeks ago that I decided to post story arc in-depth lines of the KI story. At the time, I couldn't remember my password, so I'm in the tentative title as Red Jade Phoenix. And actually, Red Jade Phoenix is my PSN Hong Kong account, because I have 3 accounts. I have my Japanese account, which is Rami Johanna, my Chinese account in Hong Kong, which is Red Jade Phoenix, and then my American account, which is Vice de Noir. My real screen name on the SRK network is Goddess Faux Sung. Those of you who know me in the competitive fighting game world as the mascot goddess who does live action moves to what you see in the video games done in real life. So those are my shout outs right there to Maximilian for his wonderful videos. All of y'all who support him, continue to do that. Continue to look at his videos, because I know he's going to have great coverage. As for this video here, this is more about what has not been talked about yet. To get people up to speed, I'm talking specifically about the story only, and some accolades and some historical facts about the Killer Instinct video game and the franchise. So yes, to Mr. Shade and also Mr. Unblockable on the SRK network, thank you very much for watching this video. So now I'm going to get into some accolades about KI in general. So as we know, in 1995, you know, it was out in the arcades, and then eventually they brought it to home systems such as Super Nintendo, which was amazingly scaled down to fit the 16-bit console. Right here I have the CD, which was the Killer Cut CD, and like Maximilian said in his video, I can agree with him. I too listened to this CD religiously. I'll even also have the killer Gold Cuts, which is the KI2 soundtrack as well. On another note, another piece of memorabilia would be the Killer Instinct comic book right here. This comic book right here was also released sometime around 95, between 95 and 97. It was a collection of these books exclusively written and drawn out by Nintendo Power. It's about 5 to 6 of these books. You can find them on eBay. They're still on eBay right now. They're not very expensive, though I do want to note that the comic book follows its own little separate canon, separate from the video game. So if you're looking to find something more true to the story arc, then you're going to have to play with everybody in the video game to understand what really went down. And that's what this video is about, breaking it down, the storylines for everybody, so that when KI3 come out, those of you who've been out of the loop for 15 years or sort of out of the loop on and off will be getting a refresher of, in every way, the details of what's going on between the KI tournament, which is hosted, sponsored, and ran by Ultratech Corporation. And then last but not least, also in my collection I have here, is the KI2 strategy guide. I used to have the KI1 strategy guide. I lost it somewhere many years ago, but there are 2 versions of the strategy guide. There is a legit Nintendo version, and then there was an aftermarket version of the KI1 strategy guide. I suggest that you find the KI1 strategy guide on eBay, of course. The Nintendo version is a lot more potent than the aftermarket version because it follows the arcade a lot better than the aftermarket version. And so on to some personal thoughts about Killer Instinct before I go into the story arc itself. I must say that this game has held a very special place in my heart and in my soul. And amongst that, it is because of Killer Instinct that I decided to become a stunt artist. Like when I played video games, those who know me in the competitive scene, I only played with female characters. In Street Fighter, I only played with Cammy, Chun-Li, and Rose in the Alpha series. In Mortal Kombat, I only played Sindel and Katana and remnants of Tanya and MK4 and then so forth. But it's Killer Instinct that got me seriously into stunt work. And I must say I spent over 3,000 hours and over $2,000+ in competitive gymnastic lessons because I wanted to be just like B.Orchid. Because in KI1, her Ultra, she does a flick-flack, which is a cartwheel in standard terms of gymnastics, goes into about 7 to 8 backhand spring step-outs, ending in spinning sabers. And for those of you who are stunt artists out there and performing artists and mascots such as myself, then you will understand that when we play fighting video games and when we play video games as a whole, we play for a different reason. We play because we want to know, how can we do this stuff in real life? How can we make the fantasy into a reality and put on a show for people that love to see that kind of stuff on the stage, in the movie theaters? And that is a part of the competitive fighting game universe that is constantly ignored unless people actually make a movie, and then everybody wants to critique the movie based upon the people that they felt could not do the work. So, you know, Mortal Kombat Legacy is another example of that. You know, really good martial arts. Nobody's wearing the outfits from the video game except for the main Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And so, as a mascot of video games and performing arts and historian, you can see my collection in the background here. I specifically focus on female characters, as y'all all know. And so, of course, I'll be talking not only about the female character Orchid and other characters, but the whole KI storyline. As a rule of thumb, just want to put out there for those of you out there who are feminists, you know, B.Orchid would be the first female in the fighting game universe to single-handedly win a tournament and actually gain that accolade. There are no other females in history to date in female video gaming storyline to actually claim the role as not only the protagonist, the hero of a tournament, but also the reason as to why a sequel even connects at all. You know, Chun-Li may be, you know, gifted with the first female of fighting video games, but Chun-Li was not the one to take out Bison single-handedly. And she was not the one to take out Gil single-handedly, as we all know that. She may have been an integral part as taking down Shadow Law, but she was not the one to take out Bison. And the same thing with Mortal Kombat. Kitana and Sindel and Sonya, they serve as some of the greatest supporting female characters and lead characters in the Mortal Kombat series. But guess what? They did not defeat Shao Kahn. So, with that being the case, Orchid, Black Orchid, and also another note on that, black too. You know, female is, you could tell that she's African American, and kick ass single-handedly defeats Idol, and the reason why KI2 exists, being ripped 2,000 years back in time. So thank you for listening to this spiel that I'm talking about between the performing arts, stunt work, Killer Instinct video game fandom. I'm going to go into the story now itself. Take time, sit down as you watch the images of KI1 and 2. Refresh your memory as I will narrate for you guys from front to back the KI1 and KI2 storylines. In the far futuristic future, the entity known as Ultratech was a dying weapons and technological-based conglomerate that used their annual martial arts tournament they called the Killer Instinct as a means for financial survival. In order to continue competing upon the global stage of capitalism, Ultratech utilized the black market as a conduit to smuggle and sell other mega corporations' technological advancements, thus secretly funding their yearly event. The revenue garnered from this illegal activity is what eventually became the catalyst as to how the CEO of Ultratech discovered the time-traveling technology to not only bend space and reality, but traverse other worlds and dimensions as well. Ultratech would eventually utilize this technology to abduct relics, artifacts, and beings from other time frames and dimensions, thus using their tournament as a way to bring on the greatest spectacle the world has ever seen. Thus, what was once a regular martial arts tournament to advertise various company weaponry and technological advancement then became the place where you fight to survive. A tournament where if you survived your battles but lost your matches, you ended up disappearing for good, no matter what the cost. The record of this conspiracy behind Ultratech became notorious enough to where it caught the attention of the media, law enforcement, and potential combatants to come. For several years, Black Orchid has been amongst the codename elite, a professional espionage organization working for the greater good of humanity. Although her past remains hidden, including some things she's even unaware of, she won't find out for some time yet that Jago is actually her brother. Realizing the clear evidence that Ultratech's crimes and dark ambitions is proving impossible to come by, she eventually concurs upon herself that the only way into the company is the most dangerous, straight through the front door. Orchid disguises herself as an intern and lands herself a job as the right-hand secretary to the CEO of Ultratech. All the while, B.Orchid is on a secret mission to find out why the combatants are turning up missing. While auditing Ultratech for the financial laundering schemes and other corporations on taking them down, she is then caught hacking and stealing information from Ultratech's mainframe, forced to become a contestant in their tournament. Little did the CEO realize that she'll be the one to not only destroy Idol single-handedly by herself, but she will be the one to lead the barrage attack against Gargos and the destruction of Idol, in which left massive energy waves that pulled the company 2,000 years back in time. Many months have passed since the previous year's Ultratech tournament, and despite the wide-ranging searches of his tribe's supernatural Phoenix allies, the chief's beloved but overambitious younger brother has failed to return in either triumph or defeat. After much agonizing over the matter, and to great protest from his tribesfolk, Chief Thunder decides that he must suspect the worst in concerning his brother's fate. Chief Thunder pacifies his people by nominating himself as the Avenger. Chief Thunder has no dreams of glory, but taking up Ultratech's challenge with nothing but vengeance and primal justice in mind. Chief Thunder does eventually find out the demise of his brother at the hands of the DNA-manipulated Spinal, and because of this, Chief Thunder does have his vengeance. Or does he? Chief Thunder then disappears himself from the KI original tournament, not to be seen not in KI2. However, there are rumors that his existence still does live, and though in KI3, should he return, much is to be explained as to what happened to Chief Thunder between KI2 and now, 15 years later. He was found abandoned as a baby at a Himalayan monastery and taken in by the monks of the Tiger. Jago showed great promise from the start, and under the tutelage of the ancient abbot, has swiftly become one of the order's star pupils. During many meditation, he is visited by the very tiger spirit his order serves, which grants him great power and chooses him to battle the sinister evil of the corporation Ultratech. At first, the power threatens to overwhelm Jago's sanity, but in time he soon learns to master it and becomes the finest warrior the order has yet fathered. The ever-present uncertainty to this origin, however, still troubles him. However, it would not be until the end of the journey that the tiger spirit was nothing more than the spirit of Gargos speaking telepathically through Jago and manipulating him, similar to the Onaga Shinjinko case from Mortal Kombat Deception. Gargos wanted nevermore but Idol dead, and so that the portal could be opened through the powers of Jago, allowing him to step through. Although Fulgore, the original model created by Ultratech, was made to be the perfect Terminator, however, the destruction of Fulgore will be met by the hands of Jago, and an infuriated Ultratech to no end created specifically new enhanced model Fulgore model, programmed specifically to target and obliterate Jago and KI2 2,000 years back in time. Since the day when a wolf bite left him afflicted with a particularly virulent strain of lycanthropy, Count von Saberwolf has lived in exile in his remote mountain castle, shunned by society, struggling with the insanity as his disease grows steadily worse. A handful of years back, his worst nightmare was realized when he failed to revert to human form at all. Every possible rumor of a cure has been a hoax, so when a message arrives promising salvation, should he enter and win the Ultratech contest, Saberwolf is highly suspicious but obliged to seize any chance that comes his way. Saberwolf was given the ultimatum that by defeating Riptor, should he be given the salvation he long so desires. He did indeed defeat and kill Riptor in the KI-1 tournament, but to his dismay was ripped 2,000 years back in time when B.Orchid defeated Idol. Now, 2,000 years back in time, Saberwolf was held temporarily captive as his arms was replaced with cybernetic arms. He now fights on behalf of Ultratech, trying to find a cure. Riptor is another one of Ultratech's miraculously released concepts. He is a crossbreed of human and reptilian DNA, resulting in a creature that combines formidable intelligence with sheer brute strength. Nurtured from an egg by a dedicated Ultratech professor and her team, the beast, nicknamed Riptor by others, has barely reached 4 years of age before it first demonstrates its full savage power in a human kill. Riptor is confused and often finds itself torn between human reasoning and predatory instincts, resorting to attack when it fails to understand the situation, as ever more people will find out the hard way. Riptor was killed by Saberwolf in the KI-1 tournament. Although Riptor's accolades during the first tournament involves fighting TJ Combo, in which in the brutal fight he ripped out TJ's right eye. Riptor was then killed shortly afterwards. In wandering the galaxy in search of new life on different planets, a curious glacier skims too close to the Earth and is sucked in by its gravitational field. He crash lands deep into the heart of a snowbound mountain range. Groggy, but counting himself lucky to be alive, he surveys the damage and sets out in hopes to find the technology he needs on a planet he knows nothing about, in hopes on fixing his broken spaceship. The history books of glacious races warn that the humans can be unreasoning, brutal, savage, and irrational, and boy can they exaggerate. Unfortunately, Glacius will soon have no time to regret his trusting nature when Ultratech captures him and tries to use him for their own unique brand of scientific research. Glacius is giving an ultimatum that for him to gain his freedom, not only must he fight in the Killer Instinct tournament, he must also destroy the failed scientific subject known as Cinder. Glacius indeed does destroy Cinder, and understanding the turmoil that Cinder is in, grants him his wish for a peaceful death. Glacius is then granted the technology that he needs to fix his spaceship, but of course before he has the opportunity to even get close to his technology, Ultratech, the conglomerate, is ripped 2,000 years back in time due to the defeat of Idol by B.Orchid's hands. Glacius, 2,000 years back in time, would then meet up with an ancestral version of himself who also was traversing Earth but crash landed. Glacius would soon find out that because his spaceship was close to the planet did not mean anything of him actually crash landing on Earth, but rather when Ultratech used their time-traveling technology to warp reality, pulled him into the gravitational field. Glacius, now privy of this technology, privy of the information, now understands that his people had once been on planet Earth before, and now, meeting an ancestral version of himself, now searches for more people of him. His name is Ben Ferris. He was once a small-time criminal with many counts of assault, breaking and entering, and arson on his record. What crime has this man have not committed? He is the latest convict to be brought out of jail for Ultratech's twisted uses. His fate is to be used as a human guinea pig for the conglomerate's chemical weapons development team. An unexpected side effect left him consumed by fire, but somehow, much to his own horror, he is still alive. He is kept confined in a top security block until Ultratech decides to enter him in the Killer Instinct tournament. They release him under the code name Cinder, and for him to gain his freedom and to have his police record publicly expunged, he must face Glacius and fairly defeat him in full public view. Cinder is disrupted and going through several moments of insanity where being a human guinea pig has taken a toll on him. He wishes nothing but death, but nevertheless fights Glacius because he truly believes that he is going to be given a remedy. He cannot defeat the Glacius, who then overpowers him and grants him the peaceful death that he so desired. Having fought his way from a ghetto backstreet gym to the world heavyweight title through sheer raw power and aggression, it would only be after 5 years that at the top of his game, TJ Combo Garrett is brought crashing down by his own overwhelming greed. Having blown most of his cash on titanium arm plants to ensure that the title remained his, Combo is stripped of his belt, wealth, and public respect when the Ultratech surgeon who performed the operation sells his story to the media. Furious and humiliated, Combo returns to his old ghetto haunts and vows to defy the world at large in reaching the top once more. Combo enters the Killer Instinct tournament and along his journey ends up fighting Riptor. Although he didn't defeat Riptor, he did manage to escape, but in this escape managed to lose his right eye. It would be Saberwolf to destroy Riptor, and Combo to join Orchid and the rest of the team in destroying Idol once and for all. Combo's original plans were to destroy the Ultratech conglomerate all by himself, but with Idol's defeat by Black Orchid's hands, they were ripped 2,000 years back in time. Now, his priorities have changed, and Combo simply just wants to go back home. He was a legendary warrior from over 2,000 years ago. The thing now known as Spinal has been torn from the piece of death by Ultratech's cell regeneration experiments. Trapped in the new world, he has no choice but to obey the orders of this conglomerate despite his reluctance. And to make things worse, he begins to suffer tormenting flashbacks of his past, of the ancient life he cannot quite remember. After the awe and wonder, he's inspired when he first is unveiled to the public. He does so by killing Chief Thunder's younger brother, who is ambitious and fulfilling his dream. However, this year, Spinal finds himself in the shadows of Ultratech's latest creations, Fulgor, Riptor, etc. He is filled with resentment, and now he is set out on a path to prove his worth more superior than any of the other experiments Ultratech has created. When Wynn has caught that Spinal was the reason behind Chief Thunder the younger brother's death, Spinal is then immediately destroyed by Chief Thunder. His bones disintegrated, and then Chief Thunder moves on. But however, when Ultratech is ripped 2,000 years back in time by Idol's defeat by the hands of B.Orchid, it would be Gargos who goes and resurrects the Spinal creature. Commanding him at will, he's using him for vengeance and freedom. One of Ultratech's latest creations, and possibly the most dangerous up to date, the Fulgore model is the first in a planned series of cyber soldiers boasting state-of-the-art armories worked at feverishly over the last few years by a particularly erratic Ultratech genius and his team. Dark rumors begin to arise as to where the prototype's human parts originated. The kind of rumors nobody dares to ask. However, before the Fulgore MK1 model is even finished, the scientists are already working on an upgrade. And to prove the prototype's ultimate worth, it is entered into the Killer Instinct tournament with orders to destroy all opposition. Fulgore meets its end at the hands of the warrior Tibetan monk Jago. An infuriated Ultratech automatically rushes the project on the second order of the Fulgore models. The second Fulgore model is then personally activated to find and totally annihilate Jago. However, it will be between the combined efforts of Orchid, Jago, Tusk, Maya, Kim Woo, and TJ Combo that the second series of the Fulgore model never met its engagement. Now, 2,000 years back in time, we are left on a cliffhanger as we are wondering of the whereabouts of what is to happen for Killer Instinct 3. Idol and his greatest rival Gargos, known only to the world, to the monks of the Tiger, and to the spirit that they serve, were the last surviving warlords of ancient times, battling for ultimate control of a long-lost land. The heroes of that age, known as Maya, Kim Woo, and Tusk, joined together to banish them to a place known as Limbo, a magical prison. And for 2,000 years, there they stayed. But now Ultratech and their meddlings in their time-traveling technology has resulted in a device that can scan void for life. And despite their efforts to shut it down before anything nasty gets out, a weakened Idol manages to break through at the last minute, leaving a jealous Gargos to try and manipulate Jago from behind the scenes. Idol is being used right into the company's scheming hands. Idol will meet its end by the hands of B.Orchid, the secret agent that disguised herself as the secretary of the CEO who was once caught hacking into the files of Ultratech. Through his defeat, leapt nothing but magical energies that spewed from both his heads that ripped Ultratech and the world 2,000 years back in time to a distant land. Now in this long-lost land, Orchid is forced to find a much even greater foe with the help of people in which she led the barrage. As Queen of the Amazon, Maya had teamed up with Kim Woo and other warriors to banish both Idol and Gargos into their magical prison known as Limbo. Now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that the monster Gargos has reappeared, she has been banished herself from her own kingdom. For Maya to reclaim her role as Queen of the Amazon, she must defeat Gargos once and for all to reclaim her former standing. Maya, who does not understand the situations that are taking place, then teams up with Orchid, Kim Woo, Jago, TJ Combo, and Tusk as they all combine their efforts to destroy the Lord of all demons, Gargos. This mysterious Chinese mystic is the descendant of the fighters that teamed up with Maya and Tusk to drive off Idol and Gargos, trapping them into Limbo, their magical prison. To continue protecting her people, Kim Woo must now destroy the returned demon lord. It is at some point 2,000 years back in time, Kim Woo meets up with Jago and takes fancy upon him. There is a hint somewhere that she must be an earlier version of the revived tiger spirit in its infancy. This has yet to be revealed, but soon to be expanded on in Killer Instinct 3. The brutal and formidable ancient barbarian known as Tusk was part of the warriors along with Kim Woo and Maya that assisted in banishing the demon lord Gargos and barbarian Idol to the magical prison known as Limbo. However, now that Gargos has reappeared for some odd reason, Tusk believes in his heart that before he can face Gargos again, he must face all the challengers before he has the right to face his most ultimate challenge. Gargos would be the ultimate manipulator behind the scenes of the entire Killer Instinct saga. Personally choosing the Tibetan warrior monk orphaned at a young age, Jago, Gargos would telepathically speak through him and choose him and grant him with the powers necessary in assisting the team of warriors to destroy Idol, releasing the massive energy waves that will rip them 2,000 years back in time. With that time change being altered, Gargos was free to escape from the magical prison and free to rule the land. Gargo attempts to continue not only manipulating Jago, but also Saberwolf, Fulgore, and Spinal, as they all do his bidding for him to eventually try and rule the earth. The conclusions of the KI2 tournament are still up in the air, and these questions and more questions will soon be answered as Killer Instinct 3 is released later this year, November 2013, as a free-to-download game for the Xbox One exclusive platform. So there you have it. That is a complete rundown of the Killer Instinct story from parts 1, 2, and I'm going to talk about some stuff on what I think about is going to happen in part 3. Though a nice interview with Maximilian and one of the co-creators of the new project with Double Helix touched on his competency of the tournament during E3 just a couple of weeks ago. And that particular producer, his name is Michael, can't think of his last name at the moment, but his name is Michael, was talking about how, you know, Jago and the tiger spirit and how he was being manipulated telepathically through Gargos, who really wanted to get him to go throughout the span of the tournament to win the tournament so that the energy rip could actually give Gargos enough space for him to jump out of limbo. And then you start to learn more about the rivalries between the Idol and his clan and Gargos, the demon lord. So going on to KI3 and some ideas, from what I'm speculating, they will go more behind the story behind what is Ultratech, because they have yet to really talk about how did Ultratech even get the technology that they got their hands on to even warp time, space, reality, travel space, go back in time and pull mythological creatures out of different subspace continuums. So I'm quite sure they're going to talk more about Ultratech. They may talk more about the B.Orchid brother-sister background story, how they got separated. What is the organization that Orchid works for? How come she doesn't know who she is anyway, and how she came to be what she was? More about the tiger spirit, and why is it that Jago seems to be the only one coming to realizing what the tiger spirit was, but in the backdrop, the Tibetan monks happen to know what the tiger spirit actually represents. So it's almost like an Illuminati order going on, and Jago is the only one that's not is out of the loop. So going on also, Chief Thunder, so y'all know from the KI storyline, he did avenge his brother Eagle by taking out Spinal, but Chief Thunder isn't seen in part 2. They may talk about where he went if he was not killed in the process. I'm quite sure they're going to talk about more behind the Demon Lord, Gargos, and more about Idol's line. Why are they two mythological creatures that are, I guess, natural enemies at war, similar to the whole Shokan race and the Centaur race from MK. So that's what you got right here going on, two different races. I'm quite sure, and it seems like they may go more deep into that backstory. There's been a lot of requests for Cinder to come back, but as you know, Glacius killed Cinder in the first tournament, thus ensured his freedom. But before he could use the tools given to him by Ultratech to even leave from where he was at, he was ripped 2,000 years back in time, not only to meet an ancestral version of himself, but then given a new mission to save his people. So that means that there's more of his kind out and about on planet Earth, if we're even still on the same planet. So there's a lot that's going on. I can't wait to see what Double Helix does with the story, because that's exactly what this is about. I was actually hoping that during the E3 presentation with the Xbox One and everything that they announced, that when they announced Killer Instinct 3, tentative title as just KI, I was hoping that they was going to showcase Orchid, since she was the protagonist of the video game. Anyway, somehow I guess they wanted to focus more on Jago, and Jago became the lead story arc like Ryu or Street Fighter, when in KI's existence, that is not technically the case. So, fighting video games always seem to have this history where they show a beta release of it, they always show like the lead male characters, and then you wait months and months and months and months till you see a female. And I always felt, you know, it would be more fair to show not only maybe 1 or 2 male leads and then 1 female lead. They always tend to put females on the back burner, especially when it comes to fighting games. And in this case, Orchid, you know, not giving that much accolades in female fighting history, actually is the lead in the KI story all the way through, even up to the end. So, going back, just touching briefly on KI2, I believe they also should expand on the story set with the Maya and Kim Woo, since they have some very similar stories. Maya is kicked out, of course, because for her to reclaim her role as the Queen of the Amazon, she must then banish Gargos again. Same thing with Kim Woo. She is seen as the guardian of her people, and for her to return, she has to go banish Gargos again. There's somewhere mentioned in the storyline between them two, Kim Woo and Maya, that they have teamed up in the distant past, where they have banished both Idol and Gargos to that subdimensional space known as Limbo. Now, for those of y'all who has KI1 for Super Nintendo, if you save the KI1 manual, it talks about how Idol has been trapped in a magical prison. That magical prison is known as Limbo, but he's not alone. Gargos is there with him, and I'm quite sure they're going to expand on that and say that there's more mythological creatures in that magical prison itself. This is almost like saying pulling out creatures from the Phantom Zone in the DC Superman storyline. That's basically what that is. So now I'm going to move on. That's the KI story. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to send me any comments on my YouTube page. You can also find me on my website, which is mascotcookie.com. You can see it right here below me, www.mascotcookie.com. So I'm going to go into the music. As we all know, it was because of Killer Instinct that music in the fighting game universe has been seen a lot differently. You know, KI came out in '94, then of course the release for Super Nintendo came out in '95, and later in '95 that year it was released for Game Boy Color. Then of course the sequel comes out in '97, which, and then in N64 the home release is known as Gold. So the music, which of course is being overseen by the Stamper family, Rare, which is a UK distribution, third-party video gaming company that creates awesome games, you know, really invested a lot of money in cutting-edge technology, and possibly one of the first on scene to actually go into full-range motion capture. The music, staying on topic, is something that really changed the video gaming universe for fighting games, and I would say later that year when King of Fighters 95 came out, that has influenced that game a lot, as well as Street Fighter 2 and other video games that will create their sequels to come and follow. Now, Street Fighter 2 had already had their music going on, but it would inspire them to create more music as that game became more and more popular. As you know, there's like a dozen Street Fighter 2 soundtracks. There's 2 different versions of the vocal soundtrack. There's the image soundtrack. There's the actual video game soundtrack. There are different artist versions of the soundtrack, and there are now anniversary soundtracks for Street Fighter 2 many years later, as in today. So KI, I'm hoping that they focus more and more on the music for KI3, which of course the co-producer and the overseer of the lead project said that they are, that they went really deep into just Jago's theme so far, getting lessons to go to a Mahayana temple and getting the and all that going on. This can be seen in Maximilian's video with Michael over there live at E3 near the KI machine. During all of that, he was interviewing people throughout the entire weekend, which something that I wanted to do, but I couldn't make it out there. And for you fans out there of the KI universe, just like me, I wanted to really ask in-depth questions about the story, really ask in-depth questions about the music itself, and really ask in-depth questions about how come Orchid really wasn't there as part of the test character for the beta project. I think a lot of people had in mind that Orchid was going to be one of the first people showcased, but I guess it really threw us for a loop that the first three characters that they showed was Glacius, Saberwolf, and Jago, which Glacius is now playable at not E3, at Evolution Fighting Game Tournament. I can't wait to see who they announce as the fourth character that they're going to do at EVO. I'm hoping it's Orchid, or I'm hoping it's a female character. It'd be nice if female characters were valued at the same level as male characters were. We live in the 21st century now, so I think, you know, this is what really happens when someone's ego is bigger than reality. But that's another story. Okay, so these are my closing comments. I'm going to get into what the Michael, the overseer of KI3 project, is talking about. Fans putting their voice out there, talking about what they want to see. Now in KI3, this is what I'd like to see, and perhaps some fans may or may disagree with me, but I'd like to see the No Mercy moves back. Of course, KI dubbed their own version of fatalities, but they didn't call them fatalities because that was a Mortal Kombat thing. So they will call No Mercy moves. So we want to see the No Mercy moves come back, of course, as well as the ultimates. And maybe something new and revolutionary and different that reinvents KI. Of course, that new instinct concept where you go into instinct mode is awesome. That's a nice new concept. More innovative ideas like that, as well as the old. I think bringing in the humiliations, which were like the KI versions of friendships, should come back. A lot of the old stuff should really come back and bring it round full circle. You know, so we're talking about humiliations, we're talking about No Mercy moves, we're talking about the ultimates. The ultras are there, but also the background fatalities, the background No Mercy moves, such as the Sky Stage, Orchid's helipad, Kim Woo's dojo, Spider's ship's background being thrown in the water, Jago's Tabishan Bridge, things like that. They need to add those background fatalities again. Of course, we know that they're going to have way new backgrounds, way new music, all of that good stuff. They need to incorporate that stuff again. That's what made Killer Instinct what it is. Also, I think because we have a very cartoon feel now, KI had a dark feel in part 1. Then it kind of kept that theme in part 2. Some things kind of changed up a bit. But now that it's looking almost like Street Fighter 4, how are they going to animate the death scenes now? Because you have that very cartoony feel. So the death scenes will almost seem similar to Samurai Showdown, to where you could do a fatality conclusion. If they're going to go that route, I understand, but make sure that, I guess we do it in a way that is Killer Instinct trademarked. Kind of when you change the artwork, changing the artwork to KI changed the whole feel of the game, because the death scenes will look kind of differently now. So I'm on board. I've been on board for the last 15 years. I've been playing the game like it's 1995 because, you know, one really good famous Evo competitor, he's a professional video gamer, his name is Daigo. You know, we all know Daigo. He's all over the video gaming universe, especially in Japan. But one of the greatest things he said in an interview some time ago is to be really good in video games and to remain the best, you have to continue playing video games that people no longer care about. So that's saying that for while everybody's playing the up-and-coming and current games now, you got to continue playing the things from the past, and that's how he remains the best. So I'm quite sure people who have long forgotten about rival schools, who don't play rival schools as much, he's probably still playing it as if it's still 1997. So, you know, and if there was a tournament for it, there's no doubt that he would crush everyone. Why? Because he's still playing with it as if it's still fresh and new. And that's what this is all about. And so I guess maybe my critique for the fandom is that you have a lot of competitive fighters out there who now all of a sudden are coming out of the woodwork saying, oh yeah, I remember the game, I remember Killer Instinct, yeah, I've been with it, I forgot how to play. Silence. Tumbleweed. So it's like you've been with the project but you haven't been playing with it. So I can say as a fan, even though that I waited 15, 16 years for this moment, I have been playing the game like it's yesterday. Hell, in fact, this is the reason why I even became a gymnast or a stunt artist at all, was because of Killer Instinct. So my double kisses out there for the Stamper family, you know, that really changed the way we look at motion capture. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment. You know, send me an email. Let me know what you think about this video here up on YouTube. I'm just covering some parts of the Killer Instinct fandom that have yet to be covered. You know, like I said, this wasn't a gameplay video. This was about the story. This is about catching people up, you know, who've been lost in the loop 15 years or have been in and out of the fandom and kind of need a refresher on what the KI story is, and hopefully what we would like to see in KI3 and the continuation and the depth of the story, which is what really carried on the game. Like I said, in Japan, story and music first, then gameplay. In America, gameplay, graphics first, and then we'll piece together the story, and then if it's important enough, we'll pay attention to the music. Yeah. Go figure. Come find me on my website, support my videos. Support out there to Maximilian. Once again, I love his videos. I love what he does. This is www.mascotcookie.com.